Hi there. So I was watching some PewDiePie videos and an idea came to me. What would his name sound like if you translated the name, his username PewDiePie, into Chinese? So I've tried a little bit and looked up some stuff, and I came up with two possible translations of the name PewDiePie into Chinese. So if you're wondering, if you're learning Chinese and you want to refer to your beloved YouTuber PewDiePie, how would you do that? So basically in Chinese you have two main ways of creating new words. If there's a word, for example a name, PewDiePie, and there's no combination of Chinese characters readily available, you can either go by the sound of the words, PewDiePie, or you can try to use some characters that have some meaning, that have some meaning that is connected to this name. So my first translation would be this. Here I write DE. DE basically means number one, or the first one in Chinese. DE, first one. And this one would be pronounced PewDiePie. PewDiePie. P. P means something like skin. For example, if you write it this way, P Fu. But as you can see, this translation of PewDiePie is not a translation, or is rather a translation based on pronunciation. You can hear that PewDiePie is very much, it sounds very similar to PewDiePie, and oftentimes when you have, for example, American words or English words in general translated into Chinese, oftentimes the result sounds the same, especially for names. Like you have the name Lisa. You would often hear translations like Li Sha, because the S, as you might know, in Chinese is not so good. Or you have things like Mark Zuckerberg. He would be called Marker. And in this case, I use these four characters that sound like PewDiePie. P-U-D-Pie. As I already said, this P-Fu means skin, but it's just for your information. PewDiePie has nothing to do with skin. There's nothing really skin oriented that I wanted to have in this word, but it's useful to know because it's a useful word. This yo is most commonly associated with the Chinese surname, with a family name in Chinese, and you have to be careful when you write this character that you don't write it this way, or vice versa. If you see this character and you want to practice this character, that you don't write it this way. This yo is the surname, but this character means long, dragon in Chinese. Long. It's a very important character, and you should not get yo and long confused. I also wrote this traditional way of writing dragon, and maybe if somebody wants to make a joke or wants to make a compliment, then you could say, instead of P-O-D-Pie, you could say P-long-D-Pie. If you want to have a character that looks almost like this one, but which means dragon, which is very interesting. Interesting, especially this version, but it's the traditional version, so it's not as easy to write as this one, of course. This D is means Earth. Again, Earth has nothing special to do with PewDiePie, but it's a very useful word. And this is Paizi the Pie. Paizi is basically like something in front of a shop where it reads this is a grocery store or something, and this big sign is a Paizi. Paizi is a sign in most cases. The second version, the second translation for the username PewDiePie, DR. This is DE, this is DR. This reads Ping Si Gao, Ping Si Gao. And now Ping Si Gao does not sound very much like PewDiePie if you compare it to PewDiePie. But in this case, I tried to find some characters that match the meaning of this name. As you might know, the name PewDiePie comes from pew, like if you have a gun and you shoot this gun, it makes pew pew pew, and this is what the Chinese people say when somebody shoots a gun. The German people say peng. In English you say pew, but the Chinese say piang. If you remember the last video I made, this is piang pang. This is the same as in ping pong. So there's a connection there. But if you just have this piang, it means onomatopoetic pang pang, like from a gun. This si means to die, as the name PewDie or PewDie, as it was originally before you changed it to PewDiePie. It's basically pang, you're dead. From a time when he was mostly streaming FPS. Of course, this is long ago, but this is where the name PewDiePie comes from. This Gao means cake. This is the full word, Dan Gao, and of course pie, PewDiePie. The pie means is a pie, and this is what Chinese people say to pie. So this is what they say to pew. This is what they say to die, and this is what they say to pie or cake. Again, Piang Si Gao, Piang Si Gao, Piang Si Gao. And to make a more general note, we have seen that there are basically two ways in Chinese to create new words. And I want to give you another example, which is very interesting. It's the word cheese. It's just so that in this episode it has nothing especially to do with PewDiePie. I will give you, in the end of this episode, I will give you one complete sentence that uses the word PewDiePie, the Chinese translation, the phonetic translation. But I want to give you one more example of how in the Chinese language new words are created, so that you have more than one example. So this word cheese can either be translated as Ru Lao. And Ru Lao, really, these characters are really, their meaning is either milk. Ru means milk. Ru Zi, for example, can be used for the female breast. And Lao, this is for products that are made out of milk in certain ways, one of which also creates cheese, Ru Lao. And this is Qi Si, and you might immediately see or immediately recognize that Qi Si sounds very much like cheese, Qi Si. But if you analyze those two syllables, if you analyze Qi and Si, there's no connection to cheese whatsoever. In this character, it doesn't sound anything like cheese, but Ru Lao actually makes sense in the meaning. Actually, it has some meaning behind it, but Qi Si is only to sound like cheese. Qi is, for example, in Ichi, together, Ichi Chu, and to go together has nothing to do with cheese, quite the opposite maybe. And this Si also comes, for example, in Gong Si, in a company. So going together and company and any other words that you can find here have nothing to do with cheese. Another way to say is Nai Lao. Nai, again, is also has something to do with milk and or with feminine, but again we have this part which has a meaningful connection. So this is an alternative translation. for this. And again, we have the cake, because I want to give you some bigger example to show you that although most or a huge amount or a huge part of the Chinese words of the dictionary in Chinese, it consists of characters of words that have one syllable or two syllables. You can have longer. Of course, you can connect more syllables to create words. So you have one substantive, one noun. Sorry, I'm German. I always mix up these words, but it's a noun, of course. It's a nai lao dan gao. It's a cheesecake. Nai lao dan gao. So you can have longer words in Chinese. Not every Chinese word has to be like 2 syllables. It's not this strict. So to show you the word PewDiePie in action, I have created a small sentence that you should be able to understand if you have some knowledge already in Chinese. If you have no knowledge at all, it might be difficult, but if you have a little bit already, if you watch the other episodes and maybe studied for yourself a little bit, you might be able to comprehend what is going on in this sentence. So I read it again, or read it completely now. PewDiePie de哈巴狗叫摩耶PewDiePie的哈巴狗叫摩耶. And the translation of this is PewDiePie's pack dog, or his pack, is called Maya. Because, as you might know if you watch some PewDiePie videos, one of his dogs is called Maya, and this is what one possible Chinese translation of this is. So I basically lied. I did not only give you not one translation of an English of a name, but or a word, but several. And more, yeah, it's another example where you go for the sound more than the meaning, possibly. At least this is how I read it. So again, PewDiePie de ha ba go jiao mo ye. Let's put it a little bit closer. PewDiePie de ha ba go jiao mo ye. And the reason I gave you this sentence and talked about PewDiePie's dog is because the type of dog that PewDiePie has, historically speaking, it's now, of course, you can get this kind of dog anywhere in the world, but historically speaking, this dog comes from China. So there's actually some reason that I'm talking about PewDiePie's dog, because is important for Chinese history, and it has some connection to China in general. And I will also tell you during which dynasty this type of dog was originated. It is this dynasty. During this dynasty, the type of dog that is the ancestor of PewDiePie's dog, or it is the ancestor of the race of dogs, or the breed of dogs, that PewDiePie has, his little pack, is this dynasty. Now I'll give you a few seconds to think about, and I hope that you will recognize and be able to tell me which dynasty is this. This means Chao. This just means dynasty. Important is what is this? Okay. Either you know it or you have looked it up in your Chinese dictionary. Anyway, I'm going to tell you. This is the Song Chao, the Song dynasty. Song Chao. And it was it existed from, or it remained in power from 1960 to 1279. And as I said, it is the dynasty during which PewDiePie the Ba Go, the ancestors of this Chinese Pak, were bred and originated. This character is called Jiao. I think I didn't explain it fully, but you already understand what the sentence means because I gave you the translation. PewDiePie's Chinese Pak or PewDiePie's Pak is called Maya. This character means Jiao, to be named. I will give you some further examples in future episodes, but I hope for now, with the two translations that I gave you for PewDiePie, PewDiePie or Piangsi Gao, you can have some fun, and maybe if you have time and if you know a little bit Chinese already, you can make your own sentences. Isn't that great? So, see you next time.